A massive power breakdown in Pakistan affected most of the country's more than 220 million people, including in the mega cities of Karachi and Lahore. AFP: The situation in Pakistan is worrying. Its economic crisis is going from bad to worse, with forex reserves declining to $4.343 billion, just enough for 2 weeks. That affects 1. High inflation rate. Annual inflation rate in Pakistan rose to 24.5% in December of 2022 from 23.8% in November. Food prices surged 35.5%, higher than 31.2% in the previous month, with onions 415%, tea 63.8%, wheat 57.3%, eggs 54.4%, gram whole 53.2%, and rice 46.6%, recording the biggest increases. Other upward pressure came from cost of transport, 41.2% vs 44.2%, namely motor fuel, 49.45%, clothing and footwear, 17.1% vs 18.6%, and housing and utilities, 7% vs 9.9%. Compared to the previous month, the CPI increased 0.5%. 2. Unemployment. According to World Bank data, unemployment rate in Pakistan 2022 was 7%, almost 5 million, and adding 4 million youth turning 18 years and those that have been rendered unemployed due to floods, the figure comes to 12 million. Jobs for 12 million people are required in 2023 when the GDP growth rate is near 3.0%, almost the same as the population growth rate of Pakistan. 3. Blackouts, fuel and food shortage. Petrol stations across Pakistan are quickly running dry due to reduced supplies by oil marketing companies. Even Islamabad now regularly sees serpentine lines of vehicles at filling stations. According to petrol dealers, companies have cut down supplies of petroleum products over long delays in the issuance of letters of credit by private banks for imports. Causes that led to the crisis in Pakistan. 1. Political instability. In 2022, the Pakistani political crisis began when the opposition joined hands and submitted a no-confidence motion against Imran Khan's government in the National Assembly, which was followed by political crises in the country, on national as well as provincial level. PTI's Usman Bazdar, the Chief Minister of Punjab Province, resigned from his post on Khan's order in favour of Parvez Ali, PTI's ally, which led to a political crisis in Punjab Assembly. A no-confidence motion against the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Chief Minister Mahmood Khan was also filed by the opposition parties in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa Assembly, while the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf (PTI) submitted a motion of no confidence against their own Azad Kashmir Prime Minister. 2. Pakistan floods of 2022. The floods, which took place between June and August 2022, resulted in the death of more than 11 million livestock and the destruction of over 9.4 million acres of cropland in the provinces of Balochistan and Sindh, which are already among the most food insecure regions in the country. The floods affected 33 million people in Pakistan and destroyed 897,014 houses and damaged another 1,391,467. 1,164,270 livestock have been killed, most of them in the province of Balochistan, while destruction to 13,115 kilometers, 8,149 miles, of roads and 439 bridges has impeded access across flood-affected areas. Over 22,000 schools were damaged or destroyed. And still the 25% of flood-affected land is underwater. Government officials estimated at least $30 billion of reconstruction costs and economic damage, equivalent to about 10% of GDP. 3. The unbalance between exports and imports. According to Pakistan Kisan Ittehad, PKI, had already warned Pakistani government about food shortage a year ago, but ignoring the fact Pakistan continued to export the wheat to other countries. 4. Fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit is the difference between the government's total revenue and total expenditure. It occurs when a government's total expenditure exceeds its total revenue. The deficit is usually financed by borrowing from domestic or foreign sources. A fiscal deficit can also be referred to as a budget deficit or government deficit. It is usually expressed as a percentage of the country's gross domestic product, GDP. As the fiscal deficit rate is at 115% in Pakistan, which implies that the Pakistan's expenditure is 115% times of the revenue they are generating. 5. Ukraine-Russia war. The rising conflicts in both countries have made unpredictability in the worldwide wheat markets because of worries with respect to a decrease in the stock of wheat from the Black Sea district. The clash between Russia and Ukraine could prompt bread deficiencies in the Middle East and Africa as they depend on Ukrainian wheat and corn. Food expansion has been rising as of now, and Russia's capture of farming-rich grounds in Ukraine would just raise the food costs. And since the Pakistan is third largest importer of Ukrainian wheat along with importer of oil, so it led to food shortage in Pakistan resulting in food crisis and rising cost of fuels too. China's role in worsening Pakistan's economic crisis. The economic downfall even worsened when Pakistan started borrowing from the most notorious lender, China. The Chinese government is known for diplomatically entangling countries in its debt traps. Where the World Bank loans at an interest rate of 3% to 3.5%, China charges its borrowers up to 6%. Furthermore, Pakistan's development project conducted by China employed the Chinese as 50% or more of their workforce. The Chinese have also cornered many areas in Gilgit-Baltistan that are even off limits to the locals. Today, over 40 countries globally owe more than 10% of their GDP in loans to China. Unfortunately, these are the official stats by the government, and nobody knows the actual debt holdings. Currently, Pakistan's economy is a staggering $130 billion in loans. And, in the bid to repay the debt and sustain its crumbling economy, the Pak government is planning to borrow a $6 billion bailout from IMF. The unusual steps by the government. At the beginning of June 2022, Pak reserves only had enough money to pay for 2 months of imports. Mohammad Hafiz, a former all-rounder for the Pakistan cricket team, highlighted the issues that the ordinary man in Pakistan faces amidst the economic turmoil. Therefore, the government is encouraging its citizens to take some unusual steps in an attempt to combat Pakistan's economic crisis. For example, businesses are asked to operate in broad daylight and close the shop early evening to save energy bills. Authorities are also discussing the plan to switch off street lights on alternate nights. Government employees, on the other hand, are restricted to taking unnecessary trips, lunches, and high teas at the office to reduce expenses. Moreover, from now on, authorities will only be permitted to purchase utility vehicles like ambulances and school buses to cut down on private vehicle costs. I appeal to the nation to reduce tea intake by 1 or 2 cups daily because we borrow money for tea import as well. It's the appeal made by Pakistani Federal Minister for Planning and Development, Ehsan Iqbal. Pakistan has already taken funds from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and now its all hope is first to get further funds from IMF and to get concessions from the IMF on the Extended Fund Facility, EFF. Pakistan also has hopes from friendly nations in the form of long-term loans or donations. Thanks for watching.